Okay, next up, for exam review, we're going to be looking at systems of equations. We have two linear equations, two unknowns, and you're solving to find their intersection point, okay, so where the two lines meet. So here, okay, I have the elimination method. I'm just going to do this the first one of these in both examples. Okay. So the first one we're going to use elimination method. The second one we're going to use substitution method. So for the elimination method, okay, what I'd like to have is the x's or y's having the same number, but one of them being positive and the other being negative. And then you can straight add them together. And you could do it where they're both positive and then you subtract, but that usually leads to more errors. So I recommend, okay, getting them to be the same value, but one of them positive and the other negative. In this case, I would probably get my x's to both be 6. Okay, maybe I'll make the top one a positive 6 by multiplying by 2. So 3 times 2 gives me 6. And I'll make the bottom one a negative 6 by multiplying the whole thing by negative 3. If you do that, then I'm going to get 6x, 10y, and negative 24. And my bottom equation, I'm going to get negative 6x, negative 3 times negative 3 is going to give me a positive 9y. Negative 3 times 11 is going to give me negative 33. Put those together. Okay, so we add those two equations together. 6x plus a negative 6x gives me 0x. And my x's have been eliminated. 10 plus 9 is going to give me 19y. Okay, and this is going to give me negative 57. I want y by itself, so I divide both sides by 19. And you end up with y equals negative 3. So there's where the y value of my intersection point is. So now all I have to do to finish this is get the x value. So we're going to take negative 3 and plug it in for y in either one of these equations. It does not matter which one. Okay? So I'll pick the top one. Again, it doesn't really matter. I have 3x plus 5. And where I see the y, I'm going to substitute in negative 3. So I get 3x subtract 15 equals negative 12. So I have to add 15 to both sides now. That'll cancel out, and I'll be left with 3x equals 3. I want x by itself, so I divide both sides by 3. And I get x is equal to 1. So now I know that the point where these two lines meet is at 1, negative 3. And remember, if you want to check whether your answer is right, okay, you can just take both values for x and y, plug it in for both in the equation, and you should get the answer on the end. You should get negative 12 equals negative 12, and you've done it right. All right, so substitution method. So this is where we're going to take one of the variables, either x or y, isolate it. Okay, so your equation says just x equals or just y equals, and then plug it into the other equation. And the hint that I've given you in the class is, look for the smallest coefficient in front of either x or y. Usually that's a good place to start. Okay. And in this case, it would be the y right here. It just has a 1 in front of it, and a negative 1 back. It doesn't really matter, negative or positive. Okay. So let's isolate y in this first equation. Okay. So if I take that 4x to the other side, I end up with negative y equals negative 4x plus 5. I don't want negative y equals, I want just y equals, so I have to get rid of that negative 1 that's in front of the y. So that means I have to divide everything by negative 1. So you end up with y equals, this is going to be positive 4x, this is going to give you negative 5. So now I've isolated y in the first equation. Now you have to plug that in place of y in the second equation. You can't plug it back into the first equation. You'll get 0 equals 0. And so you won't be able to solve for anything. So we need to plug it into the second equation, the one we haven't used yet. The second equation has 3x plus 5, and where you see the y, plug in what you solve y to be from the first equation. So it's 5y, my y is 4x minus 5 equals 21. Multiply it out. 3x plus 20x, subtract 25, is 21. Select your like terms. I'm going to take the 25 on the other side. So I have to add 25, add 25. So I'll have 23x equals 46. I don't want what 23x is, I want what x is equal to, so I can divide both sides by 23. You can end up with x is equal to 2. Now that you've solved for x, it's the same as before. Take that value, plug it into either one of your two equations. Let's plug it into the second one this time. So 3x, and x is 2, plus 5y equals 21. 3 times 2 is 6. 6 plus 5y equals 21. And it's just algebra from here to solve for y. Y equals 3. So these two lines intersect at the point 2, 3.